Hi friends, in previous video I described about motion, how to define position and reference point. In this video I discuss on motion along a straight line. This is the simplest type of motion. This is the simplest type of motion. I describe this motion by taking following example. Now the first thing I done before describing the motion along a straight line, choose a reference point. So this is the point O which I take reference point. So all the distance measured from the reference point, all the position, all the distance are measured from the reference point. Now an object, I take a boy which name Abhishek. Now I take this boy and this boy moves from point O to C and through B and reach finally on point A. Now what is the total distance between point C, point reference point O and A? So if I discuss on this distance or calculate this distance, then 5, 10, 15, total 50 kilometer or 50 kilometer. So this is the total distance traveled by Abhishek from point O to A. Total distance traveled by O to A. Now Abhishek moves back from point A to B. A to B on this point. So if I find total distance or total path length or total distance covered by Abhishek. So if I calculate, then first O to A, so distance OA plus then backside from A to B. So total distance traveled is equal to OA plus AB. So OA is 60 kilometer OA is 50 kilometer and AB is 15 kilometer. So the total distance is 65 kilometer. So this is the total distance traveled by Abhishek from point O to C, O to B along point or through the point A. Now I find displacement. So if I discuss on displacement means distance of the point B from the initial point C. So if I find the difference between point B and O, displacement is equal to difference between point O and B. This is equal to 35 kilometer. Now you see displacement is differ from the distance. Distance is 65 kilometer and displacement is 35 kilometer for same path. Abhishek just moves from O point to A and then back to A to B. Now I discuss some difference between displacement and distance. So this is distance and this is displacement. Now I discuss on difference between distance and displacement. So the first difference is, in the definition form, distance is total path length traveled by an object through the motion. And if I discuss on displacement is the shortest distance between initial point and final point. So this displacement is shortest distance between initial and final point. So if you observe how to find displacement, then I just find the difference between, or the shortest distance between initial point O and final point B. So this is the 35 kilometer. So displacement is shortest distance between initial and final point. Now we discuss some more point. Now the second point difference between distance and displacement. In distance, to describe distance, we need to specify only numeric value, and numeric value of any property in physics is called magnitude. So just describing the distance, to describe distance we need to specify only magnitude of distance. If I take example 65 kilometer, then 65 is the magnitude of distance. But in the case of displacement, both magnitude and direction required. Both magnitude and direction required. Now I take third point. Can the distance equal to displacement or displacement equal to distance? So I take some at other position. If I discuss on position at A, then at A distance is 50 kilometer and displacement is also 50 kilometer. Then I can say distance is equal to displacement. So I further check at another position, point B. In point B, distance is at point B. So further Abhishek moves from point O to A, then back to B. Then total distance is 50 plus 15. So this is the 65. And if I talk about displacement, then it is just the shortest distance between from O to B, it is 35 km. And again at point C, if I check on C, then distance is C through A and B, then A 50 plus 25, then distance is 75 km, and displacement is shortest distance between O to C, so this is a 25 km. Now Abhishek moves from point O to A and then back to point O, then distance is 50 plus 50, this is equal to 100 km, and displacement is shortest distance between initial point and final point, and in this case initial point and final point are same, so displacement is 0. Now if you clearly observe this situation, then you can say that distance is always greater than or equal to displacement. Distance is always greater than equal to displacement. And one more conclusion, displacement may or may not be 0, but distance never to be 0. So I hope you understand what is distance, what is displacement, what is the difference between distance and displacement, what is the similarity between distance and displacement. So I hope you understand whole concept of distance and displacement. So please download the Scholar Learning app, and if you already download this, then enjoy learning. Thanks for watching this video.